Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Inside the Box. I'm your host, Joanna Lee, and today we will launch the series commemorating Asian Heritage Month. I'm pleased to welcome my first guest, Korean-Canadian pianist Monica Han. Monica is also an active Korean drum dancer and recently completed her doctorate in piano performance at the University of Montreal. Today, we will discuss her role as a multifaceted musician. Welcome, Monica.
Hi, Joanna. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm very honored to be your first guest.
The pleasure is all mine. I was wondering, how did you get into Korean drumming and dancing?
So, as you know from a few parades and festivals that we did together, I do a little bit of Korean drumming and also drum dancing. I first got into doing some Korean drumming when I observed a class given by my dad. He used to teach some Korean drums in Korea. And after we moved to Vancouver, I naturally got the opportunity to just follow him one day. And I saw what he did and I really liked it. So I just tried to imitate what his students were doing. And I kind of got good at it.
That's amazing. Speaking of your father, can you explain what your father's organization does?
Yes. I know he does a lot of things, and I think you've seen him at a Peony and in downtown.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So he goes by the name Han's Korean Traditional Art Society. And mostly he does mask dancing. That's his real specialty. But he also does a lot of instrumental teaching on the side. And we just kind of go wherever in Canada they call us and just try to promote what we do and also to show about our Korean culture.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I remember reading about your father actually donating a few masks to the Museum of Anthropology at UBC. Can you tell me more about that?
That's true. That is an ancient story. I think almost 20 years ago, we visited the MOA, Museum of Anthropology, one day, and we discovered that the museum didn't have any Korean clothing or just anything that we could see. And that really discouraged my dad, of course, who has been in doing the whole tradition thing all his life. Then he came back home and decided that he was going to carve about 10 masks from a gourd. It's kind of like a vegetable. So they carve out and then put some paper with melted rice. I don't know if I'm describing it very well, but I just seen my dad do it a bunch of times. It's kind of like paper mache. So it becomes hardened and then he paints on top of that. So he made 10 of them and donated to the UBC Museum of Anthropology.
That's a very interesting topic, actually. One of the things I was wondering, you learned this from his father or grandfather, or is this sort of in your heritage?
Yes, that's true. So it all began with my grandfather kind of discovered this whole mask dance. It's like a play, so you act it out. And it became a big thing in his neighborhood, in his hometown, that actually the country decided to list him as a cultural human asset. Kind of like what is it called when a building?
So basically he has some
Yeah, he's number 49 on
oh,
this country's national.
treasury list.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's really hard to translate it into English, but
Can you actually describe it in Korean for anyone who's
um, so it would be 문화재.
문화재?
I forgot the name. It's a 49호.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't you even mention at one point there was a street named after?
Yes. So there is a street called Han Yusong Gil in Songpa, and also there's a little statue in the park of him. Just a bust, not the whole statue.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was quite a figure, but he deceased when I was only 4 years old, so I don't have too many memories of him. It's all just kind of like stories, like legends, when my dad tells me all these things. So yeah, it's really interesting
You have
too.
a very eclectic background.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain what type of Korean drumming you have done, and can you give us a background of each style?
Yes. So the type of drumming that my dad does is called samul-nori. And that means you have 4 different instruments on stage and we play it together. There are 2 different types of drums and 2 different types of gongs. And since I've been doing that more than half of my life, I'm more familiar with that. But I also have some experience of doing drum dancing, which is mostly done by female dancers because they were originally performed for the king at the palace. So that was something very different from what I have been seeing my dad do. But yeah, those are mainly the 2 different types of drumming that I do.
Which one would you prefer more?
Oof. Well, since I'm really into dancing, I think I'm gonna go with the female dancing. Also, just because of the looks, it's so colorful, and you have to get like your hair done, all your makeup very perfect, and yeah, you feel different. The energy is different, and the rhythm is definitely more complex too. So I like that challenge.
Okay, can you describe the rhythm for me? Is there terms or is there like any phonetical way of describing them?
Yes. So actually my favorite is called the chilche because it has 7 downbeats. And it is mostly played on the changu. So I think it goes dong da dong dong da dong dong da dong da dong da dong dong da dong 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 da dong da dong. Yeah. So I don't know if you can try and re-say it. It's actually really difficult. It took me a while to learn it by heart. Yes.
And you would say it's much different than Western meter, right?
For sure. There's no doubt about it. They don't have a meter like 3/4, 4/4. And definitely there's no sense of an accompanying. So it's all like kind of ensemble and teamwork. So yeah, it's really cool when everybody just plays the same rhythm like that. It becomes very intense. And yeah, the energy is so big that you can actually physically sense that when you watch them in the theater.
It must take a long time to actually prepare for these performances.
Of course, yeah.
How long would you say it would take?
Definitely a few months, very good, solid few months minimum. But of course, then you would need some experience of stage performances because we all get nervous and, we sometimes cannot control our muscles. And there were a few cases where my friends have broken their drumsticks on stage live. And we had to kind of just roll it on the floor from the backstage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not easy being a performer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
During these performances, what are you trying to achieve as a performer?
Well, as any kind of performer, I think we really want to give our best performance that we won't regret later, because it's something that you can undo. And my definition of giving a best performance would be to just enjoy and live every moment on stage. Because this way, then, there's no room for any kind of nervousness. Your head is filled with just what you love doing. And I think it really should be the objective for many performers.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm sure for you as well, with your recitals and competitions.
Oh, yes. And I think it also depends on the performance, whether it's for academic purposes or whether it's just for the sheer purpose of performing in a professional setting.
Mm-hmm.
Always different intentions behind it and tendencies, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that changes, I think, the number of mistakes too. I don't know, for me, I always feel so much more comfortable when it's not a competition, right? When I'm just the only soloist and I won't be judged.
Or pressured.
Exactly. Yeah, just you play with so much more confidence, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why is Korean drumming important for Asian Heritage Month, and how is it relevant in the Asian Canadian community?
The Asian Heritage Month, which I wasn't aware of until you mentioned it to me, is very important, especially in Canada, because it's known as a multicultural country. Um, and also, it's just important to know about who other people are, where do they come from, who are our neighbors, and yeah, just who are they? And to give these performances would definitely help build a tighter network, better relationship between different countries.
So would you describe that as enriching others culturally?
Pardon?
Enriching others culturally?
Of course, yes. Yeah. And also, to add, it would be a great moment to kind of look back and reflect, to know where you came from, to get to know more about yourself, right? We're always so immersed with our phones and social media and the whole trend. We're so busy catching up with what's going on right now. And we tend to forget about the past that made us who we are now. So definitely, I think we should definitely either read more about it, watch documentaries, or go see performances of drum dancing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a treat to watch you do the samul-nori in North Vancouver and
Mm-hmm.
to participate in the Canadian parade for Canada Day.
Yes.
That was very fun. I would say mass dancing gave a whole nother meaning in the scorching summer.
Of course. And it's not easy to breathe under those masks. You literally have just 2 holes right here.
That is true. I still have a mask from the parade, believe it
Oh,
or not.
you do? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, time to get that out for the Heritage Month.
I'll see. But for now, how about we play a short clip of Monica's drum dance performance?
All right. So, in case you didn't know, I'm on the very left. You could probably tell by the face shape,
I think,
but
yes, you have a very distinct look compared to in a very good way, by the way.
thank you. Yeah. So that was, I think it was my my debut as a samgomu dancer. That's called a samgomu. And I really loved it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to keep doing it if I could.
it really shows that you enjoy your performance.
Yeah.
And that
Thank you.
in it, your face lit up.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering though, what would you say makes this particular style Korean drum dancing? And is it the instruments or the rhythms and style?
Well, I find a lot of similarities between the instruments of different countries. I think what makes Korean drumming stand out is actually the rhythmic component. It's nothing like other, and it's just really difficult to learn and memorize them. And of course, that's what makes it so attractive at the same time. And just the whole movement, you gotta have very good stamina.
I think it's
Yeah,
important.
and the flexibility. I would say it's just very demanding. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
I can attest to that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of work put in for sure.
Can you describe the rhythms a bit more? I know you did the 7 rhythm, but was there a way of labeling it in poetic phrases? Because I think you're describing it at one point.
So I think you're talking about it's more like, let's try to find a word. Kind of like a recitative, if we speak in our classical language, that we would suddenly um, say these phrases in the middle of performing. Of course, we stop, and in complete silence, we would yell out, 하늘 보고 별을 따고 땅을 보고 농사 짓고. And literally, it means we look up to the sky, we grab the stars, and then we look at our soil on the ground and are ready to farm. So it's definitely something that was sung during the fall time, where they were investing in agriculture for prosperity and abundance of food. It was just more like to bring in positive energy, to encourage the farmers.
Was this during actually the autumn harvest, or was it, what was it was like autumn Thanksgiving or something like that.
Yes, I think it's called the MidAutumn Festival. Or I know there are many different versions of the same festival.
Is it for Chuseok or was it?
For sure, yeah. But for any kind of Myeongjal, for these Korean national holidays, we would always drum. Yeah, we can't miss it.
Well, it is a nationalistic treasure, so it has
It
to
is.
be done
Yes.
traditionally.
Hmm. And actually, but if you look at the professional drummers, they are very good. You would say they are just as talented as a classical musician.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, would you say these professional musicians have had only that sort of experience as a career, or do they do other things outside of that profession?
The Korean drummers,
Yes.
they would do that for their whole life. Yes. Just like you and I.
In
Yeah.
right?
Yes, and I believe they actually go on numerous tours a year.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised they get invited to Europe, to North America. And actually, that's how I connected with a lot of them too.
Mm-hmm.
And I met the Korea's legend, Kim Deok-soo, a few times. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. Actually, he came to UBC once. I'm not sure if you had the chance to see him.
What year was that?
Maybe 2013 or 2014. So you were here for sure. And he did something at the Chance Center.
I feel like it might be familiar, but I have
Not really.
a selective memory when it comes to this.
I mean, it's a long time ago. So
Well, thank you for sharing all that. I would like to move on to the topic of you performing in general. And I was wondering,
okay.
as a performer, have you had any aha moments that made you rethink your approach?
This is the more fun stuff. Now we're getting into. I'm sure Joanna, you can also relate to many of the things I say since we do this professionally.
Absolutely.
So just feel free to elaborate on what I say, or if you have strong disagreements, just I would be okay with that too. Um, for aha moments, I would say it's actually difficult to know right away while you're performing, but after many self evaluations. So I would record myself and check how I was playing. And of course, I find so many things that I don't like about the way I play.
We're our own worst enemy, and it means that we are our most toughest critic.
For sure.
We should never really shoot ourselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think just after reviewing over and over and over again, then I finally realized, oh, I should have done that. And I think that's really my moment of realizing.
I think we get over those tendencies once we realize there is nothing that we can do to change the past. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but those things come after the fact that we've gone through so many of these moments and we want to experience change, especially performance anxiety. We all have it. If we say we don't, there is a part of us that's probably lying.
Lying. For sure. Yeah.
I have to say though, you do have a stage presence that's very confident. So I would not have known if, you know, you made a mistake or you basically did not play to your satisfaction. So maybe the whole term of fake it till you make it is something that's applicable in a lot of aspects.
I think so. And I think I'm just one of those people who can just fake. I can get by it without being too vulnerable. No, I would just improvise something on the spot, something in that style if I have a complete memory slip, which still happens, by the way. I hope that that's encouraging some of you. And also, you know, these things don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hours of practice, many consistent years of work. So I think these like aha moments, you know, they don't always happen quickly. Sometimes it's gonna happen without even you knowing. You know, it's just gonna enter into your life very subtly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say would surprise you the most when you are performing, or have you had that pleasant surprise where you're just like, okay, I did my best?
Yeah, for sure. I guess, you know, they say surprise because you don't expect it. And that means, you know, you shouldn't have, you know, such a high expectation sometimes. Um, and when I was studying in New York City for my undergraduate, for 3 years, I received an A minus in my jury. And I was so upset because every time I thought I had given my best and I couldn't have done more. And finally, the last year, when I decided, you know, does it really matter? Like, does the grade really reflect my potential? No, then, you know, that kind of mentality helped me focus in uh, more on my playing, more on my expression, and then I got an A. So that was my first and last A.
So it happens when you least expect it, you would say.
Exactly. And for sure, that was a really nice surprise.
Absolutely. I could see that.
Yeah.
That. What would you say you know now that you didn't know 3 years ago?
Hmm. You know, these kind of questions are a little bit scary because in the future, you know, you look back and I'm gonna go like, wait, I said that, right? So without being too arrogant, I think now I know that definitely my technique has gotten close to perfect. It's very, very good, where I am quite satisfied that I can produce most of the sounds that I want. And this thought, actually, I had 3 years ago. But, you know, now looking back, I know that's not true. So I guess we just learn, you know, day by day. We grow up. And I think we always have to check back and see where we were.
Absolutely.
Right. Because if we don't check back, we would never know how tall we are.
That is very true. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
What was the most discouraging moment you experienced while performing?
um, well, there were definitely many moments. Um, Again, when I thought I had given like the best performance of my life in a competition, and I came home with nothing. You know, that was very discouraging. But just the fails, the rejections, and the fall downs. Of course, we all go through that. And even though you tell yourself, okay, you're going to try again, there's a next time, you I think we can't help but be discouraged every time. Yeah. And I'm sure it's for you too.
Yeah, but I sort of retired from competitions after realizing that it's not something that facilitates a healthy mindset for me. For me, I would have to look at personal development and growth in the sense that I'm always improving rather than comparing myself with others. And I think I had to get out of the competition to realize that. And plus, there is always an age limit. There's always going to be someone new or
for sure
you in some sort of way. But I think competition is a poor assessment of the value of a musician.
I agree for sure too. Yeah, I mean, good for some of those people who really enjoy doing it, but it's really nerve-wracking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, that's like your biggest obstacle. How did you overcome it?
Well, have I really overcome it? I'm not sure. I guess I'm just trying to constantly work, trying to have a better approach every time. But I'm gonna soon hit the age limit too. So after I'm done with competitions, then I guess I will be more comfortable just accepting the way I deal with the musical world. Yeah. They're not easy, for sure, but something we have to live with it.
Sounds to me that you've grown over the years and matured into a different
That's good to hear.
Yes. Whenever you finish concerts or competitions, how hard was it for you to take a step back and take a break from practicing, and how do you feel?
It was definitely hard for the first few times until I didn't know what to do. So after a big competition or a big concert, of course I would want to take a break. And then I would go days without touching the piano, and then just doing the things I've always wanted to do. But then I noticed that the longer I wait or the longer I stay away from the piano, it's actually harder to get back into it. So I try not to wait too long. Instead, I try to improvise or compose pieces to just kind of refresh my mind and get away from the repertoire that I have been working on.
You'll
In
have
that case, then
compositions one day for me.
oh yes, I will. Dedicated to Joanna Lee.
Oh, how nice. Thank you. That being said, how does interpretation and creation enter your mind for the very first time?
I hope that many artists can agree with me on this one, but I love sight reading. It's definitely a great place to start your imagination because it's something that you've never seen. It's like you're starting from scratch. Just you have a blank canvas and you can draw whatever you want. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect, and no one will judge you for it. So that's really the place where I get super creative. I try everything. Even if it sounds horrible, I'll just do it to the extreme.
What about sight reading in front of your colleagues? I think there were times where you and I had to actually collaborate and do some sight reading on our own.
That is true. Then, of course, you can't do those extreme things. But it's a good practice, you know.
Absolutely, I agree.
We should do it more.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
I have to say though, there was a time, confession time. Drum roll, please. Remember when we were doing the Doonki in one of our classes?
The trio.
Yes. Remember there was a debate on where the second movement was supposed to be?
What do you mean where it was supposed to be?
So first movement has 2 sections. And I thought the second movement was actually something else completely.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
And then I was sight reading the actual second movement that you and Judy thought was.
Oh, okay.
That was, I have to say, the most painful time.
Oh no, yeah. And I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but I think it has a hard violin part, right?
It was all double stops, so yeah. Sight reading double stops.
Weak. Yeah. No, but sight reading is great. You know, sometimes you need those moments, you know, just to work under pressure, because it definitely pushes you. It's a good challenge.
I have to agree with you. That was a great challenge. Not the most prettiest moment, I have to say.
But it's okay.
Challenge nonetheless, especially when you're doing it in front of your coach, and
that's no good.
Well, we passed. We did more than pass, so.
Yeah, we did well. We worked hard. We even wore those fancy Egyptian decorations.
I think I wore like a mask or something like that. I think
yeah, and then I had a head, like a headband with a little gold, things running down on the side of my head.
That was a very different approach to the way we were playing completely. It was as if we had to change our exterior in order to produce the music that Rena wanted.
Yes. But I would say it was quite successful.
Oh, definitely.
For the time we spent, and yeah.
We barely got a coaching on the first movement, but we managed to play first and second movement.
Yes.
Yeah. But we'll definitely collaborate again.
Of course.
How do you connect to the audience, Monica?
Oof. I think as a classical pianist, it's always a challenge to verbally connect with your audience, because you rarely see pianists, you know, talk about themselves on stage, or talk about their piece, unless it's a lecture recital. It's always so serious, so quiet. You have to turn off your cell phones, I mean, of course, but and no mistakes. But I think, you know, we can kind of loosen up by saying a few phrases, you know, just a welcome message, thank you message, a little bit about the piece, you know, why you chose it. All these things I think definitely will create a tighter bond between the public and the artists. And it comes from my personal experience where I did it for one of my doctoral recitals. And it worked really well. I felt so much better about myself. I just felt very comfortable. I was warmed up. And yeah, I played up to my satisfaction.
That's really wonderful to hear. I would say connection in etiquette is very important. It's a significant factor that most classical musicians are lacking on stage.
Present.
You have to do an encore. They might say a few words, but they're not going to always given to the encores or the encore demands of the audience, unfortunately.
Yeah. I feel like you would be a person that can communicate really well, knowing you from the classes we took together. Yeah.
I would say, though, connection is sort of more of expressing yourself and peeling off the layers and showing your vulnerability by presenting what you have to offer. It can be both scary and satisfying at the same time.
That's true. And I have a perfect story to share with that for my master's recital, and I know you were there.
Oh, yes.
When I danced K-pop as an encore. And that was so scary because, I'm going to get judged. I know the professors are going to say something. But it's so satisfying. Like, it's something I've always wanted to do, right? Just kind of being all pretty and in the sparkling
sequin
dress. Yeah, with a little bit of like a low, what is it? Yeah, like a V neck. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. I don't regret it, for sure.
It was very fun. It was the most entertaining part of a piano recital that I've ever been to, I have to say. And that was incredibly brave of you. I remember there were notices afterwards that were extracurricular activities outside of our performance.
Yes, the whole school received an email that they had to be checked by the dean or something if they wanted to do an encore.
Yeah, that was quite something, let me say. There was no liberty in the way we can choose our encores, I guess, afterwards.
Yes, but you know what they say? Well-behaved women seldom make history. So I live by that. Yeah. Well, and I know you are one of those too.
Okay, we shall see. Can you give me an example? Actually, don't, please. No. It's all about you today. Okay. So why does this matter to a listener or an audience in their life, to connect to the audience, to have that, line of communication?
Of course. Well, if you ever become one of those performing artists where you're gonna sell tickets, they're going to buy these tickets to come and see you. They want to know who you are. They made all the way to the venue instead of staying at home and turning on YouTube. I think there definitely needs to be some kind of connection. In a way, you are considered a star, a figure, a celebrity figure. Of course, the audience wants to get closer to you. I think it's very natural. And no need to always create that distance. There's the stage, the podium, and the mezzanine. I think even if they don't have a chance to say a few things about yourself on stage, at least after the concert, come out of the backstage. Everyone wants your autograph. Everyone wants to shake hands, take photos. I think it's very important as an artist to connect with the audience for both sides and for the audience too.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with what you just said.
Yeah.
And lastly, I was wondering, how would musicians connect to the outside world during this pandemic?
Well, now we live in a time where there's social media. and we can definitely use this platform to promote ourselves, to put up videos of our performances, have live recitals. And I'm actually currently doing a competition called Domicile Adoré, and I wrote my own first composition. So we can talk more about that later. But I think this is definitely a great way to gather all the artists together and see how they are doing. It's been hard, staying inside our homes for months, and I found myself very demotivated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just really hard to get out of bed, and I have nothing to do. It's like, oh.
Well,
Yeah.
we could always do duets.
Yes, a sight read. Yeah.
You have a special clip of you and I performing.
Yes.
So I think we'll end it here. Thank you very much, Monica, for joining us. And
You're welcome.
thanks to everyone else who sat patiently and joined us. Please enjoy, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.
And also comments or thoughts, opinions. We'd love to get your feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.